Hi, this is Two Girls on a Bench,
the podcast. So we're two writers who tend to procrastinate just a bit.
We like to snack. We like to talk.
We don't have time to write, but we have time to do this podcast.
We certainly do. Join us on the bench.
Listen in.
At number 2 Girls on a Bench.
Hey, this is Christian.
Hey, this is Damon.
And this is The Amazing Nerd Show. We're a podcast that takes a deep dive into nerd culture. Every episode, we will talk comics, movies, video games, and even wrestling. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Podbean. The Amazing Nerd Show. The show you never knew you wanted.
Why do you hurt me so bad?
This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions.
Welcome to week 2 of Face Your Fears month on Invasion of the Remake. I am your host, Jason Bishop, and with me today is Sam Stepanenko and Trish Coughlin, as usual.
Hello. We made it.
That's right.
We did make it. Don't give it away yet. Tell people to stop and watch the movies before we tell them what this week's fear is, just in case they haven't watched it.
Yes.
Well, you just kind of did that, right?
Yeah. There we go.
You guys have watched it, right?
Okay, we'll wait.
Please watch it, yeah.
Oh, God, that's like 4 hours.
You'll have to watch one of them.
Watch the original.
I'll hit pause. And you guys hit pause. I don't need to hit pause.
No, they just did
you
pause.
hit
You hit
pause,
pause.
go.
Go, and then come back, because at least one of these is worth watching.
Yes, at least one is worth watching, and we don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it.
Yes.
Watch the original. We cannot state that enough.
Yes. I'm assuming you've watched it now,
Okay, everybody's back.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And you hate us.
We know you're
Because
bad.
you watched the remake, didn't you?
Watch some cartoons after this podcast, just so you feel better.
But you know what? We're not dealing with one fear today.
You noticed that too. I'm glad.
We're not even dealing with 2 fears today. I have 3 fears here today.
That's how many I counted as well.
Okay. So
Might be 4.
did you get claustrophobia?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And does anybody know what that means?
Fear of
Enclosed
small
spaces.
spaces.
They should. That's one of the most famous ones.
Yeah.
How about autophobia?
Oh, God.
Fear of abandonment?
Kind of. Fear of being alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And taphophobia.
I should know what that is. I've heard
That's
it.
Fear of being buried alive,
Buried
isn't
alive?
it?
Fear of being buried alive.
Okay, so you got one I didn't, and
by
I got
mistake or waking up in a coffin underground.
Yeah. You got the one that I didn't.
Okay.
Which was
So-
the fear of being alone. I had the fear of abandonment, the fear of like somebody disappearing on you.
And what's that one called?
I have no fucking idea. I didn't.
Well,
write
what
down.
good are you?
I knew. I thought you'd catch that one. But so we have 4 fears in this episode, regardless. So.
Yeah.
Oh, and I have to start doing our Twitter stuff for Fear Month too.
Yeah. What the hell? What the hell, Sam?
And we rushed this morning. It is the first day of July for us. It's Canada Day.
Yes, happy Canada Day to everybody who listened to this on Tuesday. Yeah, week. It's okay. Happy Canada Day for the Canadians who it's already passed, and happy July 4th for the Americans because it's already passed as well. By the time you're listening to it, it's all over. It's done.
Yes, and we're already halfway into
It's
Stampede Week.
belated.
Yeah.
It's belated, but I hope you had fun celebrating your dwindling freedoms.
Yes. And yeah, we're halfway into Stampede Week now too. Or we will be when
We
this
will
video.
be.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
If you go back to the HorrorCon episode and we give them the white hats, it all ties up. Ties together.
Yeah.
We have,
But we're not doing a Stampede
There's a
episode.
few fears in
That's
Stampede.
one of our fears is Stampede.
yeah. There's no word for it. Stampophobia.
We fear crowds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fear of
crowds.
festivals,
Fear of
Festivals.
clowns,
Ferris wheels.
cowboys, children.
Oh, yeah. Clowns, definitely.
Yeah, spending too much money. There's so many.
Loss of control with the alcohol.
Yeah, that's one too. At least it used to be, not so much anymore as an adult. But
Fear of loss of control.
germophobia, the fear of well, you can actually conquer your fears of fucked up foods.
Yeah.
We've talked about that in the past as well.
I was about to say, and as obscure, there's got to be weird fears out there. I swear, somebody's got to be afraid of cotton candy. That's got to be a fear.
it's got to be a fear. Yeah.
There's got to be one.
But that's not the fear we're talking about today.
No. So today we're going to be talking about Spoorloos, aka The Vanishing from 1988, and of course the remake in 1993. Fun fact: same director for both films.
I
Yeah.
think that's
George
excellent.
Schluser.
Yep.
And this was based on a novel, and of course, and was actually adapted by the novelist Tim Crabb. He also wrote the screenplay for this as well.
And there was a third remake. I'll mention it now before I forget.
The German one?
The German, but it was made for TV, so it doesn't count for our podcast.
Yes.
That's right. And God knows I didn't want to watch another one.
There's
No.
also audio BBC reading of
Yes,
The
there
Vanishing.
is. That one I
So-
was actually, when I learned about, I only learned about that last night. I'm like, oh, that I would have listened to.
You right?
I love audio stuff.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. Hence, being a podcaster.
Right?
Go figure. Go figure.
And the remake, geez, it had like a budget 10 times what the French-Dutch
Yeah.
one had.
Yes. And it doesn't really show all that much.
No, I
It
mean,
is mostly flipping salaries.
budget of $23 million
That's what I would assume,
for the
but-
remake. So, you're looking at just a little over $2 million for the
Yeah.
original.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Like Kiefer, like who would have the biggest paycheck? Sandra Bullock
Jeff
wouldn't
Bridges.
have at this point.
Jeff Bridges. He was the
But
top
Kiefer
bill.
Sutherland, I think this is after Flatliners, so
Oh, yeah, he
he
was a
could
hot
have
property, yeah.
commanded a bigger
Oh yeah, no, he was
salary.
still hot. It's kind of funny when I watched that movie. I'm like, I would have totally reversed the roles myself. But Bridges did all right.
Bridges did
He
all-
made some choices.
He made
He
some
did.
choices,
And
like that haircut.
here's what I
Well,
will.
what was going on with his?
Yeah.
You will get
His
there.
voice. But here's what I will commend him on, and this is a very key point. I remember watching this like for the first time many years ago, and when I did, it so completely put me off Jeff Bridges. I've never really recovered in that like relationship in watching him. He creeped me out so much. I can't watch any subsequent film without being creeped out by him.
That he was really creepy. I actually
Mm-hmm.
found him creepier than the actor in the original version.
Oh, and that's part of what I think I didn't like about it. They kind of fell into horror tropes, like let's make him a little quirky and weird and creepy. And the original guy's not like that. I mean, he's got his quirks, but he's
He's
I wanna-
nondescript, which is scary.
I want to say the original's more about the banality of murder, whereas it's almost the opposite. It's like the murder of banality of the remake.
Yes.
But it's sort of, this is the, if you want the absolute definition of what people complain about and goes wrong when you go from a European movie to an American movie, this is basically the definition of it. The American one spoon feeds you stuff. The American one sort of has to have a glorious heroic ending. The American one,
Yeah, it has the happy ending.
yeah, and you can't.
I mean, Slusser essentially got to make the movie he wanted the first time on
Yeah.
a much lower budget, and
They actually shot the
realizes-
same ending for the original.
Yeah, and I mean, time-wise, they're about
Well,
the same, but
similar.
some of the stuff that most of the stuff he pulls from the original film is kind of rushed along, so they can fit in that ending, the more happier ending.
That's
It's exactly it. And
the
then-
tension is lost because of that.
Yeah, I
I-
don't necessarily agree with that. I found one of the things that did kind of bother me about the remake, or the original, I should say, is they spent a lot of time explaining, going through the life story of the kidnapper, and that when they took a lot of that out in the remake, and I found it worked really well to create some tension because you don't really know him. But you're right; they did overdo the creepiness a little bit in the remake that kind of took away from that. But I found that change, I found that really effective.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
what I really like about the original is you kind of just see these people in their lives going on vacation, and you see the disappearance, and then you start backtracking and filling in those pieces. By about 20 minutes in, you know who did it, and you start figuring out the whys later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't see it right away. I mean, the remake opens right on Jeff Bridges going through
That
the
bothered me.
motions of practicing
Yeah.
his kidnapping before we get to the explanations. But it did bother me that we see him right away rather
Yeah.
than focusing on the couple. And I think that took away of them as a couple because there's
Yes.
great chemistry in the original between your two actors, and I'll mention that the characters were Rex Hoffman and Saskia Wachter. Oh God,
Wachter.
the Dutch, and I should be good with Dutch because I'm Dutch myself, but I don't speak the language. And we see them at the opening doing their vacation stuff, and we really see them kind of bonding as a couple and combating and having a fight as well when she's left on the side of the
Which is
road.
great foreshadowing.
Yeah, it's great foreshadowing. There's chemistry there. Like, you feel that chemistry. You feel the love that they have between them. The only chemistry that we have between Sandra Bullock and Kiefer Sutherland, if it was in a lab, it would have probably killed all the children.
No, it's all the chemistry you see in the remake is when Jeff Bridges is in the lab. That's all the chemistry. But it's also when you're talking about, you do spend more time with the couple. And the other thing about you need to have that because the resolution of their fight, I was like, it's so rushed. I'm like, that's not how that's going to go.
And that's why I like the original so much. Is it took a while. There's like the quiet driving you would have during a fight. Yeah. Like it's all so very relatable.
Yeah. And
which really I think helps sell the disturbing nature of this film. Is it's everything. Everybody feels very average and normal.
Yes.
They feel like real people, except for even our bad guy, whose name has now escaped me.
He was in the original movie. It's Raymond Lemorne, Bernard Pierre Donadieu,
or Barney.
Donadieu. Well, no, that's the actor's.
Barney.
No, that's the actor's name.
Oh, that's the actor's name?
Yeah, Barney.
Yeah.
Barney's the Barney Cousins is Jeff Bridges' character, but that's probably where they got Barney.
That's what I was about to say. I wonder that's where they got him.
Yeah. So Bernard, and he spoke fluent French and Dutch, which is why they cast him. And he's a fairly prominent actor in France and Holland. So, but not here too much. But he's. I mean, I remember when I was looking at IMDb and seeing his face, I'm like, oh, I've seen you before.
Yeah. But what also I like about the fact is they're on vacation somewhere else. This is their away from home, which sort of heightens everything.
Yeah, they were going to go cycle through France.
Yeah, whereas Kiefer and Sandra, it's like they're by Seattle, but like they're not really well out of their element.
No,
and I think.
Well, that's part of the size of the U.S., right? Like you go to another state, whereas the countries in Europe are the size of states.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you really think about it, I mean, Washington is almost as big as France. It takes about 8 hours to drive across it.
But I'm just saying that extra layer helps a bit more.
Because
and I know you can't
country.
do it. But
unless they move them into Canada.
Or unless if you want English, make them British and have them still go to France.
Yeah, but again, American audiences, especially in the early 90s, weren't watching stuff that wasn't really set in North America. They were trying to appeal to the American audience, and
they were trying to fall into some of the horror tropes, make your antagonist creepier, and you have the rescue at the end, and it's so tropish,
and the very horror tropey demise of Barney.
Yeah. I'll defend it just a touch, but not quite, because there was a happier ending originally shot for the original film, where Raymond is arrested at the end of the film. Obviously left on the cutting room floor, and to great effect. I think it should have been left there. I quite like
the different happy ending of the original, where he's happily with his family up at the cottage. It was so effectively disturbing.
Yeah, and see,
knowing full well that there are at least two people buried out there.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that's a happy ending, but here's the other thing: I don't think I wouldn't have. I would have changed sort of the ending. Like, if you're going to have a heroic moment and do that, and you still want it disturbing, undercut it. Don't have him just take a shovel to the guy. Again, spoilers, but I mean, we told you to watch it.
I would have been pretty pissed off if I had If I had been buried alive and
Yeah, I know.
just got dug up, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to shove that shovel right in your face.
Oh, I would be sitting there going like, you've buried me alive? Well, we're going to just disable you and then I'm going to bury you alive and we will both leave because I already know what happened. Your family won't.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave. And then
The ironic ending,
it'll
yeah.
show that descent where he's like going, I might, you said you knew me and I might be a lot like you. Fine, I am. But
Yeah.
we're done.
Look at that. We remade the film in under 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, because that would have been far more effective.
Well, I think that's a good spot to run the original trailer. It's in French and Dutch. Enjoy.
Je m'appelle Raymond Lemorne. Je suis sociopathe et claustrophobe. Je n'ai jamais trompé ma femme. Gaville, tire-bouchon, s'il te plaît, dans le tiroir. Mais je m'empresse de vous dire que pour moi, le pire, ce n'est pas tuer. Parce que mine de rien, c'est devenu une passion. Tu as quelque chose dans la tête.
Vous êtes un menteur.
Menteur?
Non, je ne vais... Non. Oui? Et je veux...
Elle avait violé Saskia. Si elle est morte, je vais mourir moi aussi. Et si l'homme qui voulait savoir, c'était vous?
All right. That was Spearloose.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Yes.
That means... Man, I just looked it up.
It
Traceless
was
or without a
with a
trace?
trace.
Traceless or without
Thank you
a
for
trace.
telling us, Jay, because
The TV show.
that way we can back you up.
That's right.
Well, you'd mentioned it, and then we were trying to go, we don't know what it means. You're like, okay, but then you forgot what it meant.
Well,
Yeah, I
I read
looked
it,
it
but I
up,
could,
told him,
but I
and then I
forgot like
forgot
Jay
it
did,
again.
and then he reminded me, and now I remembered.
That's
I remembered for Jay this time.
It
didn't
literally
write it
vanished from your mind.
down. It did.
As we
It
were
vanished from my
talking.
mind twice.
Twice, yes.
There's actually a really good moment in the original film where Rex and Raymond are just talking about Dutch names.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yes.
Do you know what mine means?
I have no idea.
like a bishop.
Yes. Yeah, anybody who's ever gone to my Twitter is like probably, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't spell bishop. My proper pronunciation of my name is Biskup, but the actual translation for it from Dutch to English is bishop.
Nice.
And our family's been here a long time, so we just use bishop.
Cool.
But yes, which is a boring translation compared to the ones that are in the movie.
Oh,
But
yeah, 'cause,
it's
yeah,
a fun little, weird little sequence. And there
is-
are a couple like just these weird, very European
Fry
things.
her toes, something like that was one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fry her toes. Yeah, and from what I understood from the conversation is when the Dutch get married, they combine names.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, so you end up with these really weird, interesting amalgams of and combinations of words. that-
Which would be cool. You're like dating somebody and like in you know how we'd have like the Benifer and all the combination names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you meet somebody, you're going like, okay, how are we gonna do this?
yeah,
Well,
Like, make the coolest one we can make.
There was a person I dated, and her last name was Major, and I'm like, oh, I want to hyphenate my name, then I'll hold rank in the church and the military.
He's not just a bishop.
I'm a
He's
major
a major
bishop.
and being Dutch, you could have gotten away with that.
And it would have been this
Yeah.
combination of a salute and blessing me at the same
Yeah,
time.
Exactly.
even though you're neither militarily inclined nor religiously inclined.
That's probably true.
So it'd also be ironic.
Right? Which is, yeah.
It depends, and yeah, like if
That's
you're
very
neither
modern
of those
of me.
things,
Yes,
if people
very.
wanted to get mad at you, like Jesus,
I'm the
Jason, you're
ultimate
such a
hipster.
major bishop.
I'll be forgiven or I'll shoot you.
There we go.
There you go. I think a bishop would shoot somebody. Let's be honest here. I wouldn't put it past him.
My cross is loaded.
There you go. Oh,
That
there's
is a
comic book
Tarantino
or a
movie.
Tarantino movie there for sure. Now, yeah, you're right.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so right. Yeah.
Very grindhouse. I like it.
Okay, no. Let's just put the Vanishing aside. We're going to make Major Bishop the movie.
Coming to theaters very soon.
We have lots of friendly independent filmmakers who follow us now. Maybe they'd be interested in working on something like that.
That would be awesome. Okay, but anyway, we'll do what we plan to do. We'll get back to the Vanishing.
Get back to Rat.
Okay, I'll finish off the stats here, and this will be fun because I can't pronounce any of these names. But Bernard Pierre Donadieu was Raymond Lemorne. Jean Bervowitz was Rex Hoffman, and Joanna Ter Steeg was Saskia Wagner, and Gwen Eckhouse was Leinica.
Leinica was his girlfriend.
It was the girlfriend 3 years later. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The remake, of course, was 1993, also directed by George Susser. The screenplay was by Todd Graff, starring Jeff Bridges as Barney Cousins, Kiefer Sutherland as Jeff Harriman, Nancy Travis as Rita Baker. You might remember her from So I Married an Ex-Murderer.
Yes.
Sandra Bullock as Diane Shaver, and Park Overall as Lynn. I don't even remember who she was.
She was
she was the best friend.
Best friend, yeah.
The mouthy best friend, which she was in a lot of. I'm trying to remember the TV show she was in that I watched that she was a comedic actress.
The one, I read that too.
With Christy McNichol, wasn't it?
No, there was the one with.
I remember her from.
Nest.
I remember her in
Nest,
Mississippi Burning.
Yeah, she was in that too. Yeah, Empty Nest, and then there was the spin-off nurses show from that she was also in.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
And she also ran for Congress.
Ooh, did not know that.
Yep. Yeah, she's a hardcore Democrat, and she ran against the incumbent Republican in 2012, I think, if I remember correctly.
Cool.
Right. And now she is actively supporting the Democratic Party in her home state.
Awesome.
Good for her.
She's so sassy in this movie. Love it.
So sassy, yes. Yeah, I love the scene where they're out getting drunk together. That was probably one of the best scenes in the movie. That was sort of new to the movie.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because most of the new scenes didn't work for me. One of the things I did like was the dynamic between Jeff, and Nancy Travis's character, whose name again escapes me. Nancy?
It's Rita.
Rita.
This one.
Sorry, I'm terrible with names, guys, in case you haven't noticed. But I liked.
Did you hear me trying to pronounce those?
Yeah, I just don't remember them. I really like the dynamic between them, and I like the way that they showed how the relationship started and it progressed, and then right up to where she becomes frustrated with his obsession and leaves him. Right up to there is where it really, really worked for me. That was one of the best additions to this remake, was that dynamic, and there was chemistry between the two of them. And I love the scene where they're playing around in the bedroom, and he's got the hat on, the clapping hat.
Every now and again, they do something fun, like in the remake. I did like this quick addition of Jeff Bridges grabbing a spider, and in the original, there's this weird outside dinner table with a drawer in it. I'm not sure. Maybe
they're just eating al fresco.
Yeah,
okay.
But she opened it. There was a spider in there.
No, there was tons of spiders in there.
Yes,
which probably wasn't helping your arachnophobia.
This is another. See, we didn't say that one. Arachnophobia is in both movies.
We covered it last week, but yes, but arachnophobia ranks us up to number 5 for phobias in this movie.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, this was a good choice for Face Your Fears month.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. But I liked that whole scene in the original film where he's testing out the screaming and seeing if the neighbors in this kind of wooded cabin area...
Where he makes a game out of it, yeah.
Yeah, he's making a game out of it. And he's very slick in how he tests people. I mean, it's very disturbing when he picks up his daughter at one point. And this is after we see him practicing alone around his car, and he's introducing himself, holding the door open for the lady to get in, comes in, reaches around, and he practices chloroforming her, and then he kind of does the same thing with his daughter without actually doing the deed. It's just
it made you really uncomfortable.
It is very uncomfortable
in both movies, and
I like that they kept that moment. It's important.
It's important. It was really important.
Well, it just shows you that he's a sociopath. Like, he doesn't have the same kind of connections and feelings. Like, he obviously does love his family, and he does have some sense of right and wrong, as we see when he jumps to save that girl off the bridge. Yes. But that was also related to when he was a child and jumps off the balcony and breaks a couple of legs.
His lack of impulse control.
Yeah, he has no impulse control. So,
but I also saw that as like he's in front of his family. He can't not do this. Part of the facade has to be maintained.
Yeah, and it's like, well, the hesitation of doing something and maybe getting injured, it's that self-preservation really isn't in his brain.
No.
It's a case of, well, what's going to happen? It's an experiment. It's always has been an experiment.
Always been an experiment, yeah.
So part of what he does is like, well, I've done something heroic. What if how will I feel? What would it be like to do something really evil?
Yeah.
See, now, okay.
And it's all experimental.
In the original, there was a whole thing about free will and existentialism. Mm-hmm. In the remake, it's if I can't be truly heroic until I do something terribly evil, which is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my whole goddamn life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is pretty
And
weak.
it's the dumbest thing ever. Mm-hmm. It's just, you can't... kudos to Jeff Bridges for being able to deliver that fucking line, because that drove me nuts. But it's more... He needs to do the evil deed because he feels he has to. But in the original, it's sort of like, where's my free will? Because he talks about the free will, like, what makes it? Am I destined to jump off this? Am I
they talk
not
about
destined to
predestination
jump
a lot
off
in the
this?
original movie.
So that's where he's kind of at, and he is a sociopath.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this,
and he says he is in the movie.
Yeah, he absolutely says it,
and he doesn't in the remake.
And this movie's all about obsession.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his obsession over this experiment, and
Rex's obsession over finding Saskia.
Yeah, and I mean, it's 3 years after her disappearance at that gas
8 years in the book.
Oh,
okay, cool.
Well, it's 3 years in both movies.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. And I think it's because 8 years is quite a long time.
And the original
film
film is actually
right?
more complicated than the actual original novel, apparently.
Yeah, you were saying that before, and I could see that. Trish was talking about the inspiration for the novel, so I'll let her share that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think the novel was put together fairly quickly based on this moment that inspired the writer.
And it's a brilliant moment. It's a very clever thing. It also, I believe, somewhat the same premise was used for Open Water, only with scuba diving. Whereas this lady girl went missing, just at a bus stop, like a bus stops at a gas station somewhere, and she goes missing, and people are like, oh my God! But he thought that she'd been missing and nobody ever found her. No, just got on the wrong bus.
Yeah, she was
fine.
And she was found
the next day.
She was found the next day, but like this is how it sort of these tales get out of hand.
Yeah. And he wrote her a letter thanking her for the inspiration.
Absolutely.
I think that's pretty classy.
It is really classy. It's acknowledging it, right? It's like, thank you for giving me this idea.
Well, there was a story when I was in
It might make her feel better, too. She's like, I was the dummy who got on the wrong bus, but at least something good came out of it.
And yeah, sometimes you're just inspired by the weirdest things.
Yeah.
Like, I wrote a script when I was in film school based on something that happened here in Calgary at one of the C-train stations. And apparently somebody was either shot or stabbed at the C-train station, but they couldn't find him.
Yes.
Afterwards. Yeah. And I mean, I never
He was shot with a shotgun.
Okay. But I'm like, what the hell?
I thought it was just a regular guy.
So I wrote this whole script around what possibly happened and somebody trying to investigate it, and just interviewing people who were in the neighborhood, and just I came up with these crazy characters and stuff. We never wound up shooting it, but
that sounds so cool.
But yeah, so you never know, like just this one little thing could inspire an entire story.
Yeah.
There's just so many odd things that sort of just happen in this world. You're like, how?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's true, and I remember that now that you mention it. And it was a very strange thing, and he did turn up eventually, but I can't remember what happened with him.
Yeah, I'm like, how do you walk away from something like that?
See,
so weird.
It's like my first thought, werewolf. Maybe they're real. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it was one of those rare occurrences in Calgary where there's sort of that random act of violence, and then something weird happens around it as well.
Yeah, fun fact, because it's a shotgun, that's only kind of the one person who gets shot. If you're trying to take out a mass shooting with a shotgun, it's a lot harder, FYI. Just saying. So, back to the Vanishing, and where they're in France. And whereabouts are they in the first time? Where's the gas station? I forget.
It's just outside Nîmes.
Nîmes, that's it.
Yeah. I did some more research. I wanted to find out, because at the end of the movie, they drive from Amsterdam to Nîmes. Mm-hmm. It's 11 hours.
Whoa.
So they spent 11 hours in that car together.
No,
having this discussion,
right.
Which is why I think that there's a point there where they're starting to connect in the original movie, and that's because they'd spent so much time together and they're getting to actually know each other. Whereas in the
remake's pretty much all Washington State. There's a little bit that isn't just for shooting sake. There's some interiors that are shot in L.A., but almost the entire movie is in Washington State, and they're trying to tour Mount St. Helens, and they're like, hey, any other disaster sites you want to look at?
Yeah, that was a good line. That was a really good line. Yeah.
Well, all the forest and the mountainous outside in that movie, all the time, I'm like, that's so familiar. It feels like home when I'm watching this, which again makes me a little creeped out.
Well, and that was, I think that was.
I spent a lot of time in Washington State, especially near Spokane. So I've done that same tour.
One thing that worked really well for me in both movies is the disappearance. I think that in the original, Rex's the extended time that Rex is sort of panicking and looking and waiting works really well. And I will tell you right now that the first time I saw the original, because I did watch the original after seeing the remake, because I didn't like the remake all that much. So I watched the original to see what was better.
And I think you and I saw the remake originally when back in 93.
When it came out, because that was the only time I'd seen it up till now.
Yeah, and I don't remember particularly liking that movie end. In fact, I remember being really pissed off with the ending. I'm like, why didn't they cut it just with Kiefer buried underground? Like, I had not seen the original. I'm like, what is with constantly where you have something really good and having to like undo it all with this happy fucking ending?
And I think that's what that was actually my motivation for going and watching the original.
And I never did wind up watching the original until this very podcast. So it's fun that I've got justified.
You did get justified, yes. But the scene where she disappears, when I first watched either movie, I didn't get the same disconcerting feeling that I got this time. And I realized what it was is now, because when I watched this movie, I wasn't in a relationship. I didn't have anybody that I was that connected to. Now that I do, I was capable of imagining how I would feel in that situation. Right? Because the thought of my wife just disappearing like that terrifies me. So we've found my fear from this movie is the idea of my wife just disappearing is absolutely frightening. It's far more terrifying than her, say, deciding that she's going to leave me and me knowing that why and that she is. Yeah. Right? Like that's for me, that's the core conceit, and that feeds his obsession.
Well, they do, like when they say spoon feeding, they did in the American version where Kiefer's like, I have two options. I will never know what happened to her and she's out there alive, or if she's dead, but I know all the details. I'll still choose that she's dead, so I know exactly what happened.
That was in the original too. That's verbatim.
Okay,
That's verbatim from the original, actually.
Okay, well, I might have been really disturbed at that time, and I did do some Wikipedia reading because I had to take some breaks with this one. It's like it's really intense.
Yeah, it is really intense. But that line is verbatim. Is because they're talking about choices, and in the original, that's where his new girlfriend decides that she can't be with him until because of his obsession is more important to him than she is, and that's also where Rita decides that she's going to be leaving him because she's realized that his obsession is more important than she is.
No, I think that line happens earlier when she meets him in the cabin, and she's like, he says, I'll always choose those two things, and that's when all the stuff is still up in the cabin. When she chooses to leave him is like a period of time later after they've already burned stuff in the cabin, and he gets a letter because he stopped obsessing about it.
Right, yes.
And so Jeff Bridges is like, I'm not getting my usual kick out of this guy really obsessing about it.
He notices the posters aren't being renewed every 30 days. Yeah, there's that great moment there, actually. Yeah, you're right. It's right when he gets the letter and the obsession kicks back in. That's when she decides to leave. But he delivered I love the scene at the gas station where she makes him go back to the gas station.
Yeah.
Right.
Which you should.
There's so many things in this remake that work really well that they just undercut entirely.
But they do it so quickly. Yeah. The original gas station scene where she goes in and she buys a Frisbee, comes back out. Yeah. Like there's time with them frolicking on the side in that little park area. And
where they're healing from their fight.
Exactly. Yeah. And then she goes back in again for some cold drinks before they hit the road. Yep. Because she wants to drive.
One line that in both movies that made me really
which is good because she winds up disappearing with the keys.
Yes, in both movies, but that makes more sense in the remake because she says she's going to drive because she doesn't like driving on the highway, but she's going to. I love that bit because that establishes a history with them and you get to know them like you were saying at the beginning earlier. But the I forgot my train of thought derailed there.
Well, in the original, like, she's got the keys and he's taken a Polaroid photos, like
That's right, yeah.
the car getting used to Saskia,
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
which I thought was adorable.
It was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Rex is far quicker into solving the problem rather than just sitting on his ass like Kiefer does. Like
Oh, no, he sits for quite a while before he goes, there's something not right.
he does,
Yeah.
but he looks at the photo and he figures out
Yeah.
timelines, and even though the police are saying 24 hours, which seems to be universal,
Which is not true.
no, they did that in France and in the American version.
Yeah,
So
but yeah, it's false. Apparently,
okay.
that 24 hours or 48 hours missing is not
which
factual.
doesn't, especially in those kind of tourist circumstances, you figured they'd be hopping on that a little quicker.
Aren't there like entire TV shows that go about like the first 48, which is like the first
Yeah.
48 hours after a
So you wait
disappearance are
half
the
of it?
most,
Yeah.
they are the most important, and you have like maybe a 50% better chance of catching someone in those first 48 than you do of leaving it after 48 hours.
Yeah, I love the genius of doing it in a place like that where everybody who's there except for the staff are transient. Right?
That's the beautiful part.
Right, because by the time somebody realizes something's happened, the people who might have seen it are long gone. They're on the highway.
Yeah, they fueled up, they picked up their snacks and whatever.
I think I tuned out too, but wasn't there a point where he was talking to this woman, he was trying his shtick on this woman, but she knew him.
Yes.
And then she's like, well, why don't you go out to this, like, why don't you go to a gas station
Yeah,
out
she
there?
sets it up for him, yeah.
That's it. Okay, good. I thought I missed that,
Yeah.
but I was
No,
like,
It's funny, like his failures in the first one are just immense, like
and funny.
Yeah, and funny. I mean, at one point, like they're like, "Oh, you stalking people? If you want to pick up, you want to pick up somebody without getting noticed, go with this one."
Yeah, you're not going to see anybody you know out there. Yeah, and
or when
like
the British guy comes up to him,
they're
is like,
so onto
why
him.
does my wife need to fucking help you?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, when he had that trailer, and
How
it's like
dare
he picks
you.
it up with one hand.
Yeah.
Really?
You
Yeah.
need my
Really?
wife to help you, dude? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good, and I like how the director, and in both movies, he understands there's a need to break tension.
Yeah.
Right, and he uses his moments very well in both movies.
There is one sequence where you have Rex and Raymond together, and he's finally making that offer. If you want to find out, you've got to drink this coffee. It's doped up coffee. He's telling him, like, it's a drug, but you've got to go through what she went through if you want to find out what happened to her. And this is the question that's, like, he needs to know if she's alive or dead, and needs to know what happened. And
Didn't he already tell her she was dead?
No, he doesn't.
No.
He never
says the words. I mean, that would deflate any reasoning. He's trying to give this guy closure in a way that's satisfying for him as well.
Yeah.
But when he's like running around the tree, kind of in this physical battle with his own psyche, I'm like, ooh, that's really stupid.
Yeah. It was probably one of the few
Running in circles, literally.
Yeah, one of the few like kind of awkward flat moments in the original. But at that point, that's also where he finds the coins that they had buried together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That's part of what drives him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it fed another moment. Maybe we could have done it a little differently, but it did tie in.
Yeah.
So here's the lesson we learn, everybody. When a psychopath offers you drugged coffee, do you drink it? The answer is no.
Well, I mean, it is kind of silly in conception for both films, really. It's like, why would you go with him and do this?
Well, it's
like, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to die.
Yeah, it's about obsession. I mean,
Yeah.
It's true.
because Raymond tells Rex and Barney tells Jeff, both of them say, you have to go through what she went through. Okay, so then if she's dead, you know that you're going to die. Mm-hmm. Right? And if she's alive, what kind of torments has she gone through for the last 3 years? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that.
Either way, it's not a good
it's not
scenario.
good.
It's not a good scenario.
It's destined for a tragic end.
And it's also the dumbest thing. Like, it shouldn't be the question, like, how I'm willing. The guy saying I'm willing to do anything to find out the answer. No, what you should be willing to say is, what am I willing to do to this guy to get the answer I want? Because I don't care who this guy thinks he is. If claustrophobia is what bugs him the most, he can be broken.
Yeah,
real damn easy.
Yeah, but then the movie would have been a very, very different. And wouldn't
as a sociopath, I mean, the big fight that they have, it was never going to get him any answers. He was never going to give it up.
No, he took his beating like he was expecting it.
Yep.
But that's just a beating. a claustrophobic person, once you really get into their phobia, because the other thing about it too, and I noticed this in both movies, the guy really kind of, he gets off on, he wants to tell him. This is the thing. This guy's like so worried he'll never find out. I don't know. It's sort of like he's really aching to show this guy how smart he is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah, there's an arrogance about both Rex and Barney that works really well, because it's not just about
Raymond.
Raymond. Rex is the
Yes.
Raymond and Barney.
Too many R letters, and that they use that as a device in the movie.
The keychain.
Actually,
yeah. But it's messing me up.
But yeah, like they never even try to even kind of get into that, whereas like he's just obsessed about proving how wonderful and great he is.
Well, and I mean, this movie's really, when it comes right down to nuts and bolts, is about obsession. And both of them are, but it's more, for the most part, is more effective in the original. I think that Kiefer Sutherland did a better job of appearing obsessed than the actor who played Rex did. We're going to disagree on that one, but I didn't see Rex's deterioration the same way that I saw Jeff's. Like Jeff, like it shows the car, his car is that beat up old car. Yeah. He looks different. His clothes are different. His performance, he wasn't.
I think they wind up doing that for expediency's sake, because we see it over a much more gradual time over there. Yeah, we don't see it so much in his physical appearance, but like we do see the build of his obsession over a greater period of time. I think that it's just because they needed to make room for new scenes. So they like, well, how do we tell to do the same thing? Well, and going through that physical appearance works really well.
It's also different too, because they do talk about the obsession, like this new campaign will cost you 300,000 francs. Yeah. This is how much you borrowed.
It's cost him a lot of money. Yeah. It's cost him jobs. It's cost
his
him
relationship.
Yeah. I mean, and that was the thing. In the original, Leinica was an interesting thing because she's not putting up with the obsession. She doesn't want. I love the line of, "I don't want to be a part of a menage a trois."
Yes, that's great. Yeah.
Realistically, she's right.
Yeah, and we do see Rita going through the same motions, and both of them leave. But when Leinica leaves, she's gone.
Yes.
We don't see her again.
No. Yeah.
There's no, she's not left to come back and looking for her after a drunken night on the town.
And I think that would have been a great device where you're almost creating a cyclical thing where now Rex has gone missing. Now his new girlfriend is going.
Yeah, now Lanica's going to go.
Right? And it kind of feeds Barney's obsession.
And that would have been, and I would have liked that. Yeah. And that would have been just as fine in the original film if we would have seen her like 3 years later posting up notes.
Yeah, I think that would have been actually more satisfying than Raymond's happy ending with the cabin and stuff like that. I think that would have been a really great way to sort of build that cycle.
And she's been with him enough, like she's taken some photos. She takes photos all the time when she goes. Yeah. So she would have also the other bit. Whereas, like he said, the police only filmed the first 2 times, but she's taking photos. So it would be interesting to show how she would approach it differently than Rex would.
Yeah, yeah. It makes it. I think it would have made a really interesting end to another beginning.
Yeah, there were a couple little things when Rita in the remake goes back to basically pack up and leaves that message. I mean, he's going to take her.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, because he wants to torture Jeff some more.
Yeah, Barney was he was going to go through the cycle all over again because he was losing interest in because he had this new girlfriend. We weren't seeing him putting up the new posters.
Barney needs to be admired. That's the thing,
and that's just it. Yeah, he didn't feel like he was getting the attention he deserved for this act anymore, so he needed to renew it. But when this girl was leaving him in anger, he's like, well, that's not going to do anything. So he leaves her be.
Yeah. Yeah. And but that kind of goes back to where having Leica looking for Rex at the end of the original would have also worked.
That could have been where sort of that inspiration came, because like after that, Rita is going after Jeff. Yeah. That's what the logical thing happens. So. Yeah.
I would have even been more satisfied if Jeff had actually died, but Rita still manages to...
I mean, honestly, if Barney had just waited for him to finish recording that damn message, he's not so smart as far as leaving evidence lying around, then Rita would have had nothing to go on.
Nothing,
no.
yeah.
Again, this is how
him.
people get caught up because
Yeah.
their ego needs to be admired.
Yeah, I mean, and Leinica even, both Rita and Leinica saying, like, he's trying to
He's
get
getting
your
off on
attention.
this.
He's getting off on this.
Yeah.
Don't give him that satisfaction.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And but his need to know is so overpowering.
Yeah, he's willing to sacrifice a loving relationship. He really does love Leinica and Rita.
Yeah.
Yes, he
but
does.
he can't do it, and he's still following up
Yeah.
in secret, and that's what destroys that relationship.
Well, what was interesting is I didn't
You can't
really
let
see
go.
it in the remake, but in the original, that moment where he's telling her, like, he's got all this mail that's come in, and what's really incredible about that is, like, all these people giving him these fake leads. She's working in a brothel, blah, blah, blah. I will see her at 3 p.m., blah, blah, blah. Like, he's getting all these fake leads all the time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So he's getting tortured in more ways than one.
Yeah, it's got to be horrible.
Yeah, he's very frustrated about all that. But, when you get that one letter with things that nobody else can possibly know.
Yeah. And there's a great scene, and you know what, I can't remember if it was in the original or not, but in the remake, there's a scene where Barney shakes the keys at Jeff. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I know you're the one now. Because nobody else
Nobody else would have those.
would have those.
Yeah.
The moose keychain.
Yeah. Bullwinkle.
Moose and Squidder.
Moose and Squirtle.
And I like the fact they brought the keychain back into into it because it was a device in the original movie.
But a different device, because what attracted... She was taken by the keychain in the original film, and then he's like, I would sell these in the back.
Yeah.
I got some in the back of my car in a box-marked tiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teles.
Yeah.
It's actually Teles.
Teles.
Sure, right. Okay.
And they've already had an argument about the ugly keychain, which I love that tiny, tiny detail.
Yeah.
And how
so-
she's trying to
and
speak French.
They turned it into a bracelet in
Yeah.
the remake. But I think it's time to run the trailer for the remake, and we'll be right back for more Vanishing.
What if, on the best of days, in the most innocent of places,
Till death do us part.
till death do us part, the one person you loved most suddenly disappeared? How long would you search?
He must have loved her very much.
I do admire his perseverance.
I pretend I have a choice. I have the power either to let her go on living wherever she is happy and never know anything about what happened to her, or she can be dead and I get to find out everything.
How far would you go?
I just want to know what happened to Diane, and I'm prepared to do anything to find out.
How much would you risk?
Hello, Jeff. I'm the man you're looking for. I'm Barney.
Go to the police. You can't do this on your own.
If anything happens to me, or if you speak to anyone, you'll never know what happened.
I swear to God, I wish she were dead. You do not know what it is like to not know. Why did you make contact with me?
Where you search for Diane, such a worthy opponent, kindred spirit.
She's gone, Jeff. You may never find out how or why. You just have to learn to accept that.
You don't care anymore if she's alive or dead.
I do.
You're just afraid that without the search, you won't know who you are.
Please, I just want to know.
Drink, and you will experience exactly what she experienced.
Jeff Bridges, Kiefer Sutherland, Nancy Travis.
Your obsession is my weapon.
The Vanishing.
I mean, we're talking about the scene with the British guy and the trailer and stuff like that, and that's where Raymond realizes that he needs to appear weaker in order to get.
And that's inspired by his
Bundy.
birthday when that as well, but we'll get to that in a second. But he's looking at the photos in the photo album that he's gifted for his birthday, where he also gets that keychain and the tiles for his cabin. Yeah. And it's funny because the daughter thinks he's off cheating on his wife.
Yeah. She wants him to be.
Yeah, she wants
she's
him to
fine
be.
with
She
it.
likes the secret liaison. I just I think I even wrote down, I'm like, is this just expected in France?
Right?
You're going to cheat on your
She's like,
spouse?
Well,
you're
she says
old,
that.
You're
You're
old
in
enough
France,
to
you
have
should
a
have a
mistress.
mistress.
Yeah, where it's far more awkward in the remake because it's not so much in
It's almost like she hates her mother.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
weird.
right?
And she's like, romances should be secret. So
I
she's
think-
running around with her secret boyfriends as well. And it's actually that fear of his daughter going missing, because Rita finds out where that cabin is through the daughter.
To be fair, I kind of like, there's a bit of a twist there that I kind of get, because the only reason that Diane was taken was because just a sequence of events happened. It was like pure circumstance. And also, Rita finds out some of this other stuff also by pure circumstance.
Yeah, he's like, I need to be weaker. And that was his realization.
And he sees that photograph of himself in the cast from when he jumped off the balcony. And it worked really well. And you talk about parallels. I mean, that was the device that Ted Bundy used
to
get women into his car. So obviously, Crabbe knew about Bundy's story and incorporated that into his story, right? Incorporating some real life events into his fictional story.
Yeah, for sure. And in the end, that all doesn't work either. He kind of gives up on the whole idea. It's just about fed up with it.
Well, he has to, because he almost chloroforms himself.
Which I'm glad they kept in both movies.
Yes.
You know, he almost chloroforms himself, sneezes, and he uses the tissue he just chloroformed.
Yeah, and I love the way he laughs at himself. He's like... Yeah, and then that's where he starts in the original, I should say, thinking about predestination is like, maybe I'm not predestined to do this.
Right.
And I love that. It's like, okay, well then I'm not destined to be an evil or to do an evil act.
Right.
And then
he throws all that shit away.
Yeah, destiny happens, and this opportunity falls right into his lap.
Yeah.
So it raises that question about predestination again, right?
It kind of bugged me too. There's one bit that bugged me where it's like he sneezed into this. He's breathed in a bunch of chloroform, but if you splash enough water on your face, you're going to be fine.
Well, it was only briefly too, and he'd done the trials himself doing it properly, and he was only out for 8 minutes, so it wasn't on his face for very long.
Yeah.
When he put it to his face, but it was probably enough to make him really drowsy.
He shouldn't have recovered that quickly.
Yeah.
That's my deal.
We don't know how long
the timeline. They never really tell you the timeline. Yeah. But I love the accuracy of the fact that they show that chloroform does not work instantaneously like it does in every other movie.
Yeah, because it doesn't.
Yeah.
It might on the children they do in some of the movies where they're kidnapping a kid.
Yeah, but again, no,
that's because it's a child.
Yeah, a smaller body, yes, and so on. But yeah, I like the fact that they do show that it takes time to work, and you have to, and there's struggle and everything, and it works really well in both movies.
Yeah, I know. Each time I'm looking at it, like, it's weird. When you watch these movies, I'm like, okay, so if I'm held like that with the chloroform, how do you try and slip out of that?
Yeah.
There was one bit with Rita at the end where he's like on top of her in the car. I'm like, there's no way she's getting out of it. At least like Sandra Bullock should have like sneaked out. But
yeah, that whole end scene. I mean, the sad thing is there are parts of that end scene, that extended end scene, that do work, just not for this movie.
No.
Right?
Yeah, like I appreciate how she's smart enough to figure some stuff out. I kind of like that idea,
and turn his own game back on him by talking about having his daughter captured. Right? I love that. I really loved it. I'm like, damn, that's so good. Too bad it sucks in the rest of this movie.
Yeah, because the part of it is he thinks he's so smart and so invincible. This woman just comes in and beats him at his game. Are you kidding me? That's going to bug the shit out of him.
Yeah, it is going to bug the shit out of him. Now, I have another question. This is the one thing that really bugged me about this tacked on ending is why the fuck is there a wad of chloroform soaked rags inside the phone?
Here's what
I need an explanation for that. I really do.
Here's what I filled in there. This is just my interpretation of what I think happened, because Rita's in the house, then she goes through, runs out, Jeff, and while she's doing that, he's snuck into the house, put it in the phone, and then hid in that side room he comes out of when he sees her kind of go down.
The timelines don't work on that.
Really? She's out of the house enough. He's quick.
I mean, possibly, maybe he rigged it just in case Jeff did get out.
Maybe it's so fucking weak for me though.
It is. I was like, nah, I didn't buy it either.
I think that one shot should have just been a little bit extended, but I think that's what was implied happened. Because sometimes we watch movies and the time doesn't work.
By this point, I'd kind of tuned out. Like the performances, except for Bridges, was pretty shitty throughout.
I
this
liked
movie.
Sutherland in this movie.
I did not.
Well, you know what? I think because you're not supposed to like him. I think that the way they played him is you're not supposed to like Jeff.
I will say something. There's something that unnerves me, and I don't know what it is, about watching Kiefer Sutherland play hacky sack. I don't know why it bothers me. It just upsets me in a very real way.
The happy time episode part of the movie where he's dressed in the sweater and the khakis and stuff like that just doesn't look right on him.
Mm-hmm. It looks so wrong.
It looks so wrong. He's just not a sweater vest and khakis kind of guy.
No,
if he
not
could,
at a time.
If only he could affect the accent. It's like, well, Buffy, darling. I mean, we did decide we're going to Mount St. Helens. I mean, if you didn't want to go here, I mean, we honestly should not have gone.
Yeah. And funny enough, I was going to mention that I actually liked that part of the movie because when they're getting into that desolation and her discomfort with the desolation actually worked really well for me, and making him turn around and go back, right? And then he's mad at her, right? And that sets up him walking away because he's already mad at her because she made him turn around and go back, and then the gas runs out. And he's mad at himself because he let the gas run out. So his anger and his frustration for just sort of walking away like he does makes sense. Well, it doesn't make sense, but it's more. I understand it better.
Yeah. I can tell you right now, Kiefer Sutherland as Jack Bauer would have not put up with this shit.
No, he would not have.
Well, Kiefer Sutherland as Jack Bauer would realize that you don't pass a ton of places and not fucking put gas in your damn car.
But both of them were idiots.
Yes.
In that regard. They were stubborn
Anytime
idiots.
somebody says to you, it's not important how we got here, they're the fucker that made it happen.
Yeah, no, but again, that was another thing that just happened so quickly because in the original movie, we see him. We see the discussion, and she even says, like, "Oh, no, we're fine. We got lots of gas." And then they were running out of gas in the tunnel where he abandons
and she checks
her.
the gas gauge. She leans over to check the gas gauge.
Yeah, there's that build up to that moment. There's no build up in this one. No. They just break down in the tunnel.
Yes, yeah. That bothered me. They took that little bit out because it would only have taken another 30 seconds to a minute of screen time.
Yeah,
and considering they already tacked on 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Another minute and a half is not going to make a difference.
No.
But the thing in the original that I liked and kind of made me mad at the same time was she looks over at the gas stuff, but she's also the one who wanted to go off the beaten path. Right? So, but she doesn't take any accountability for the fact that she's the one who wanted to go on the back highway.
Oh, she didn't want to go on the back highway, but that doesn't mean he is completely barred from stopping for gas.
No, but at the same time, when she turned, like I said, they don't show them passing a gas station before or after she asked that question. So was there an opportunity? That's why it made me mad, is because who really takes accountability for that?
Well, she checked the gas gauge, and here's the thing. He's got that, I don't know. You can have the back ends, but if you let it get so far and you just pass a gas station, I'm sorry. If you're the one driving, it's your fault.
Oh, as somebody who drives and travels, I'm always watching my gas gauge because I don't want to run out. And obviously they must have passed a gas station at some point because he's able to walk to one and come back.
That's the thing, right?
And it's still daylight, so it's not like it took him forever. But they don't show them passing it. I think in both movies that's a failure of the movie, showing that they...
The second one, they show them passing one earlier.
Before she suggests that they turn off the...
When she looks at the gas gauge, they just pass one. Yeah. I don't think you need to show the second one. I mean, you've already said that they can get up and he can get the gas without it being too far away. So we know this has happened.
Yeah. But yeah,
we don't need to be spoon fed that.
No, we don't need to be spoon. You're right, we don't. But yeah, I liked the.
But part of what makes that original movie so successful is those little mundane things.
Yeah. Normal arguments that people would actually have.
Yeah.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Right?
Who hasn't had the gas argument?
Yeah.
Me, because I'm obsessive about it. But,
I have with other people who are not obsessive about it, so I get it.
But yeah, I mean, I've traveled with multiple people, and I've had other traveling arguments that really, in a normal day, would never happen. But when you're trapped in a car, and you're on the road, and you're tired, and you're hungry, and you're not able to move around too much, little things can explode like that. They become very, very dramatic, and it's conveyed really well in both movies, but much better in the original.
And being in that tunnel, because I'm trying to remember where I was driving. It might have been Iceland. There was one tunnel I went through, and it was a long tunnel, like a long, long tunnel, and there wasn't really any sort of shoulder or anything. And if you broke down, bad things could happen. They're scary, some of those tunnels.
Oh, yeah.
Even the ones through BC here are
super frightening.
I mean, if you were to break down on one, because they're split, you can't move into the other lane. You're stuck there. There's nowhere near. There's nearly impossible for another vehicle to get past you safely, especially when they're traveling at 100 kilometers an hour.
Yep.
Right. I was uncomfortable during that too.
Oh yeah. No, there's.
Is there
I think it's more.
There probably
there
is.
might be.
Well, I think that falls under claustrophobia.
It may falls under common sense
And
too.
also-
Yeah, we're going to get our asses killed in here.
Getting the flashlight, fear of the dark.
Yeah.
Because I can see why you'd want a flashlight in some of those tunnels because people can't see you. When they're on
and
top of
because
you.
they're the argument, he runs off to get the gas, and she stays behind because she's fumbling with the flashlight. So he's already gone by the time she finds it. Instead of going after him, she just goes to the other end of the tunnel to get the hell out of the way. But she's freaked out.
I know. Yeah, see, but they're smarter than me. I probably should put a flashlight in my vehicle.
Although, he's like, yeah, we need to get out of the car. We're going to die in here if we stay in here. She's the one kind of resistant to leaving because it does feel like the safe place, right?
But at the same time, she's screaming that how they're going to die, especially when the truck.
Whereas in the remake, he's like, we're going to be fine. Just...
Yeah. But when that truck... And it actually works better in the remake. When the truck comes up behind them there.
Oh, it's a lot closer.
It's a lot closer and a lot more terrifying. There are some things that do work so well, but
and the French one, the rental car doesn't have emergency lights.
That's what I thought about.
He's like, this doesn't have that. That would be standard in everything.
Because that's what confused me about the remake. I'm like, there's no hazard lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there were on the Jeep. Yeah, there were.
There were.
Okay.
But in the original, there weren't. She's saying that the emergency lights. She's saying there are no emergency lights on this model. On this model, or something like that.
On this model.
Yeah, which did baffle me.
Well,
the other
it is 88.
thing that freaked my ass out is, I mean, even in 1988, 1993, this bit where she asks if he wants a beer. While they're on the road.
She's going to be driving.
She's going to be driving.
Even so, but an open container. Well, maybe in Europe it'd be
It's European.
Okay. But in North America,
not Washington State.
Not Washington State. Not in 1993.
No.
Not a chance.
Yeah, you're right. No.
Unless they're
not that people don't do it.
That's why I say not in 1993. People did do that.
For sure.
Just because it's illegal doesn't mean people don't do it.
Yes, but the fact they delivered that line,
I guarantee everybody in this room has probably done it at some point,
or been in the same vehicle with people doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I was just surprised by the line of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, there's a lot of dialogue that is directly from the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which I like. Again, having the same director will obviously inform that to a certain extent, using the same dialogue and just translating it to English.
Yeah.
Because, well, it's the same director, and he knows what dialogue is really important.
He should.
Yeah.
What he wants. It was sort of, I read just a comment about it, and they were just figuring like maybe it was the same sort of thing with when they did Funny Games, where it was the same director. He's like, if they're gonna wreck my movie, I might as well be the one wrecking my own movie. I don't want anybody else to do it.
I think he was successful. He was successful in doing it right and doing it wrong.
Yeah, there's some bits that work. There's some bits that don't.
I don't want to say wrong. Not doing it not as well.
Americanizing it.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to get the Rotten Tomatoes, but a lot of these older movies, at least the originals, sometimes you can't find Rotten Tomatoes on them. The IMDb score for the original film is 7.8 out of 10, and the remake is not too terrible, 6.3 out of 10. Although on some lists, when you see people talking about it, they talk like it's like the worst remake ever. And trust us, we've done a few of these. Not the worst remake ever. Not the most successful one either.
No, definitely not the most successful, and definitely the original is still far superior.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, there's a reason why the original's in the Criterion collection, but the remake is not.
It's also on the list 1001 movies to see before you die.
Yeah, it was actually submitted for Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars in 1988. But was turned down because there was too much French in the film.
It was submitted as Dutch, but it should have been
It was submitted as Dutch,
French.
And the French is what kicked it out. I'm like, it's foreign. What does it matter? They're both still foreign.
You can only take one French film and one Dutch film. That's your problem.
Yeah, so it was submitted as a Dutch film, and I'm sure if you submitted it as a French film, it would have been the same thing.
Yeah,
and that is officially co-production. Yeah.
Officially, it is a French, Dutch, and German production.
Yeah,
because I think that tunnel was in Germany.
I think you're correct. Yeah. And the tunnel in the remake was in Arizona.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Almost entire movie was in Washington State, except for that tunnel that was in Arizona, and I do believe some of the
interiors were
LA.
Yeah.
To be fair, you have to have the right tunnel for that moment to really make a difference.
You do, and I mean, ultimately, if I remember correctly, I've driven this Snoqualmie, and I don't think there are any tunnels on that particular highway.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you'd have to find the right tunnel. You just have to.
Yeah, we don't have a ton. We got a few long ones, but they're all in BC.
Yeah.
I don't think they're as long as the ones that we saw in that movie.
No.
Yeah, when you're talking like Amsterdam to Nîmes, it's like going 11 hours. I'm like, that's Calgary, Vancouver. That's
closer than Calgary, Vancouver.
Yeah, a little bit if you're doing the speed
you
limit.
hit those tunnels. Did you ever like do the hold your breath thing to get to the other side
and lift your feet up? Yeah.
Oh no,
we did that. Just
lift your feet up.
Yeah.
That's new.
Yeah, no, that's Val and Skylar's thing.
Why? Okay, I never did this as a kid. What is the holding your breath?
I don't know I don't.
Yeah, just something like hold your breath. I think it was something parents tell their kids to shut them up
for
as a game.
Yeah,
can you hold your breath to get to the other side?
Okay.
Yeah. But their game is hold your breath and lift your feet up.
I don't understand the lift your feet up part, but
I know just.
Well, when you're trying to get your core engaged and you're holding your breath, it's a little harder.
It would be harder.
Yeah, it would be harder, and that might be what it is. Yeah, but
just add some extra threat to it.
Yeah, it's one of their things. I mean, they have all these little Val and Skylar quirks that I love, but I don't get.
Fair enough. I don't get that one.
With some of those tunnels, though, like the only thing I will say is when driving through them, like I could have my sunglasses on. Like, have you ever done it? You've got your sunglasses going in the car, and you're like, going, I'm going to hit a tunnel. I'm going to hit a tunnel, and you like have to sweep it off, otherwise you're blind.
You don't have to do that anymore. They've got LEDs in there. They're so bright.
Oh, okay. I haven't driven there in a while.
I got to say, Rex had great driving etiquette. Like when he came around that hairpin around on the cliffside, he honked the horn.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm like, hey, this guy's done this a while.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Those little things I really appreciated in that original film.
Yeah, there are. And one thing that I really like about the remake, or this was just a case of the director obviously cutting a useless character, is the second daughter from the original.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she literally... did she have any lines? She had like 3 lines of dialogue?
No, she didn't even speak.
It did make the family feel fuller.
Yeah.
But
she was useless. She had sort of no other purpose.
No.
Yeah, but you barely see the wife in the remake too, and I think that
that did the movie disservice. Yeah, because that relationship
works against the family unit, because you do feel like he's part of this loving family, and you don't see too much of the wife. There's this like confrontation where she's asking him if he's cheating on her, and he kind of dodges the answer.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think he wants them to think that maybe he's cheating, right? Because it's a whole lot better than I'm off killing people.
Yeah. Well, in both cases, the restoration of their summer home is the device that he uses.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they did in the remake that part of me liked and part of me missed is they condensed all of sort of his backstory and all his feeling with the family and his dialogue with his wife. They condensed it at the very beginning. And then there's a couple very short scenes in the middle of the movie where he's like walking with her and they see the posters. But his family life is not as
that was his calling. That wasn't his wife he was walking with the posters.
No,
that was mimicking the other part.
That
where
was
he's
another
with his
teacher.
buddy.
A
sorry, you're right. Yes, yeah.
So again, she's in even less than you think she is.
Yes, right. I like that they didn't spend too much time on his backstory until the end, but at the same time, he was very hard to relate to in the remake because you didn't see how he was in his normal life.
Well, is that when you're talking about like the banality of evil, that's what kind of sells it as well, because you're watching this woman, you're like going, how can she not know she's married to like a sociopathic monster? And you're like, he's just very good.
He's very, very good.
So
yeah, and I mean, how many times have we heard about a serial killer and how normal they were in their day-to-day lives? Yeah. So to accentuate the weirdness in a movie, it starts to fall into weird slasher trope territory. Well, and that's, I think that normality is what is really disturbing, because it could be anybody.
Yeah, that's what made Raymond so much more disturbing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that...
And you don't even... At no point do you feel like he's really super evil either. It's like, I did my experiment. I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need to do... You never get the feeling he's done it again.
Yeah, this is a one-time thing, but
But I
this is
kind of get
phase
the
2 of
feeling
that,
he
though.
wants to do it again, because why else would he want to?
Well, you see, I think he's fine because he's getting that constant satisfaction of seeing the posters and stuff. Like
in the remake, in the
the
original,
obsession of
but in the
Rex is kind of what he gets a kick out of.
Well, no, Ed, I don't think that's what the case in the original, to be honest with you. I think that he's kind of done his thing and he's kind of forgotten about it.
I don't...
Because he says,
you know
after
what?
seeing on the
I don't
news...
think so, because they keep mentioning in the original, like, that there have been interactions between them before.
Oh, that's right. You're absolutely correct. Yeah.
So I think he's been egging it on this whole time. Like, he's made this a bit of an ongoing project.
Yeah. But it's not until he has an impassioned plea on the TV station that he's like, okay, I think it's time to take this experiment to the next level, which is like really mess with this guy.
But when they show him sort of at the end, what I kind of got from that is he's sort of thinking, where do I go from here? Because they show that article in the paper in the back of the car. We're like, well, now Rex is missing as well. And I just don't think he'll get the kick he wants if that story fades away, because he won't have something to focus on anymore.
Well, I mean, theoretically, I think we already tackled that. If he wanted to prompt that, you get Rita into it.
Yeah.
Or Leinica.
Leinica.
In the
and
original.
that would have been. I would have
the next
gone
logical.
with
maybe
what that paper, right?
What we were figuring out is
and then
probably
he
what should
starts
have
and
been
he
added.
starts taunting her.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Yeah, it feels like that. There's that little missing bit that would have been that wonderful
Gives
bit.
Like,
of
I just
irony.
don't think
killer
it's the
sociopathic
end.
feel to the ending.
And that I think, I mean, if you were going to add anything to a film, like in a remake, that would have been the perfect thing, and you still have that creepy ass ending. You know, I got to give Nancy a little credit on this for her role as Rita, because she was actually one of the better people in this film.
Yeah.
But
it's a tough role.
It's a tough part, and it all feels really forced.
She's got a tough role to do, because she's the dutiful girlfriend, but she can't be a doormat, because
His
the ending
ex-girlfriend at that point.
Yes. And that's, you know what, if they'd have left it with her leaving him when he gets the letter, I think that would have been a great way to sort of leave her until the very end after Jeff has been buried. Then she looks at the paper and then she starts to understand the obsession, right? That would have been far more satisfying on so many levels, because it would have taken this really strong character. And I love the way they developed the relationship in the remake.
But I mean, they didn't wind up having that abandonment moment that was the great foreshadowing later on.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it kind of was, in a way. Like, she left Rex or Jeff. So I guess it just handled it a bit quite differently.
She'd felt he'd emotionally abandoned her already. It was like he wasn't in the relationship anyway.
She didn't want to be second fiddle to his obsession.
I don't know about that. Yeah. Like, he's emotionally invested. Unfortunately, he was more invested in his obsession.
Yeah, and I mean, he actually says, if Diane was here, right here with us right now, I'd still choose you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and that's in both movies.
But
I'd
it's
still
that
choose
not
you.
knowing if she's alive or dead.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I'll still choose the obsession over you.
Yeah. Which
not even
love that, because it really does hammer home the point that it's not about her anymore. It's about finding out.
Yeah. He cannot move on without an answer and ending.
Yes.
And I can completely get that, because all the parents of like missing children, can you imagine like just the pain of not knowing,
never having that sense of closure? It's got to be just the most horrible thing in the world. Especially when it comes to a loved one.
Like, you're kind of dead already, like, and you're already buried by this obsession. He just becomes literally buried at the end.
Yes. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Was discussing this with a friend last night, so I got
you prepped.
You
prepped. Yeah.
He helped me get to the bottom of that. Hadn't realized it till I was like, oh yeah.
We have to go back to that little discussion we were having before we started recording, that we said that you needed to share with everybody.
Oh
again.
yeah. I watched these back to back, at which point I said, oh, I've made a grave tactical error. And you guys are like, yeah, but then I shared with you the fact that I thought this in my head. I'm like, man, I made a grave tactical error. It took me 5 minutes to figure out my own damn pun.
I made a comment going, yeah,
that?
you'll have to do that in the podcast, and maybe you can make it funny next time.
Yeah.
And then you did.
Yeah. What a moment. Yeah. So proud of myself right now.
You should be, because the pun was bad, but the after story made it funny.
Exactly.
Oh boy, yeah, I couldn't outwit Raymond or Barney.
You know, some days I couldn't outwit a sock. So.
No. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention. Okay, Rita, Nancy Travis in the remake. I just feel her look is very close to Saskia's in the original.
It is, yeah.
Like I felt that maybe she should have been cast as the missing girlfriend. She's great in it, but I'm like
I
visually.
actually thought about it, and I'm like, okay, in that moment of time, Nancy Travis probably was the bigger star.
Oh, she was.
Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, fuck yeah, I would have given that. I would have totally swapped roles. I think the movie's well cast. Like, having seen Kiefer do kind of weird villainous phone booth was great. Yeah. For that, like, I would have switched him and Jeff Bridges, and I would have switched Nancy Travis and Sandra Bullock, because I mean, in the end, it's like, wow, look where she is now.
Yeah.
And if you're going to bulk up the Rita role, then I would have given that to Sandra. But at that time,
this was like her second or third feature film.
She hadn't really done much.
I think
she was a supporting player at that point in her career.
I remember one of the reasons I was excited to see this movie is because I'd seen her in Love Potion number 9.
Yes.
And I'm like, I really like her. And then I found out she was in this with Keith Sutherland, who was hot at the time and like big actor. And I'm like, this could be good.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, I was actually interested in seeing it because of the casting. And Jeff Bridges always draws me in. Even now,
I mean, cast-wise, I mean, on paper, like, everything about this movie, you're like, oh, right, this cast is fantastic. This is going to be a great movie. And it's a mediocre movie.
What was the one... Sorry, this reminded me of something. We were talking about, like, how creepy Jeff Bridges is and, like, how he doesn't seem that off, but they made him, like, more creepy. Where was the one... Okay, Tim Robbins and Joan Cusack are a couple, but they're, like, your average couple, and, like, Jeff Bridges...
Arlington Lane.
Thank you. Where he's the guy who is looking at these banal people and they're the real scary ones. But he's that person who's just so off, people think it has to be him.
Yeah, and see, that worked really well in that movie.
Yeah. It's like that was the dynamic they needed here. Yeah. And they couldn't figure it out.
This was like, let's try to get this right. I'll do it again.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that bothered me about Barney is... it almost felt like he was trying to do this sort of Dutch accent.
I actually thought he was trying to do Dutch, and, you know, being in a Dutch family, you didn't get it.
I thought it was supposed to be foreign,
but they never explain why he has the accent. If they'd explained the accent, it would have made, like, if he'd have said I was born in Holland or wherever he was born, right? Because it was an interesting vocal quirk. Right, and I think that's part of what made him seem creepier.
Or alternatively, had the whole thing like, as I grew up as a child, I had a horrible stutter, and my family felt it was important for me to take lessons.
Do you think
he's weird?
Honestly, I think this is just because Silence of the Lamb won an Oscar, and if you do something weird with your voice, maybe you can too.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
And honestly, I think that's probably as far as that conversation went.
Possibly, yeah.
But Anthony Hopkins is so much more than what he's doing with his voice and pronunciation.
Of course it is. Well, and I don't think Bridges is terrible with what he's doing, but it does come off a little weird without explanation.
Especially with the weird walk that he was doing, too. Right?
Well, you can explain that from jumping off of
I thought
the
he
balcony.
broke his leg.
Yes, but... yeah, that brings up another piece of trivia that was a goof, actually, from the original.
Yes, where he
lost 2 fingers.
Lost 2 fingers, but he had all his fingers.
He had all 10 fingers all the way through the movie, yeah.
I think that might have been a translation issue where he broke 2 fingers.
Yes.
Yeah.
But...
Well, when I was looking at the IMDb trivia and they were talking about goofs, it's in goofs.
Yeah, it is in goofs. But again,
or I would have at least said I lost the use of 2 fingers.
Yeah.
That would have made a little more sense. But then you would have had to seen that weird hand affectation where he can't bend those fingers.
But I think he would have been capable of pulling that off when it was necessary.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
And he's like, he broke his left arm, so that makes sense. Like, I got nerve damage down there, and like he's not even that nonplussed about it, which would kind of go into the fact that as a sociopath, there's very little he cares about.
That could have fed so well into some of the troubles he was having with getting the chloroform onto the thing, because the left hand doesn't work. That's the one he's using to press it against their face, right? So that we are remaking a remake.
They needed help.
Well, Sloozer's gone now. We have to do it ourselves.
Yes. Because you see that left hand a lot in the movie, because that's the one he uses to press the chloroform to their faces, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why they really just should have thought that line of dialogue. They really need to think about.
But
that.
again, I mean, it's English. It's North American IMDb, and the translated version says "lost 2 fingers," but it may have been "broke 2 fingers" and just didn't translate very well. And that's why it looks like a goof, but probably isn't in the original, in the original language.
Well, it's weird because it's sort of like a lot of Dutch people. They know, already know 4 or 5 languages, including English.
Yes.
So
myself not included. Apparently, I barely know English.
some days I don't know what I know.
Yeah, I'm like, I've only got one to lean on, and then it seems to be failing me at times.
At times, yes.
Okay, just as an aside, my phone frightens me. I am typing out proper English words, and sometimes when I get to something, it'll give me the little icon for it, and I'm like, why am I using that? I'm not doing a cave drawing. I want to write the words.
Yes. We are reverting to hieroglyphics. You've not noticed this now, right?
It's a new phone. My old phone didn't do that.
Oh, yeah. Mine does.
Mine totally does it as well. And sometimes I get a chuckle out of it, and sometimes it pisses me off to no end.
Oh, yeah, mine, it's fine. Okay. I don't use it, so both the word and the icon will come up, so I'll just hit the word instead.
Oh, yeah, I hit the word instead, but I'm like, I don't even want the option of the icon. I am communicating in English.
There are times where you accidentally have it and it pops up, and you're like, oh, God damn it.
Yep.
I don't want to be that person.
I use them judiciously. Sometimes I'll use the word and then the icon.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm not into speaking in hieroglyphics exclusively.
Yeah. No. But you know what we are into is you speaking to us on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else we're at. And you can do that at Invasion the Remake on Twitter, Invasion the Remake on Facebook and Instagram, and Invasion the Remake at gmail.com if you want to get a hold of us and tell us how awesome we are, or there's things we should do on the show,
or play some of the games we're starting to play on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you can do the one thing, whereas there's a point in this movie where Nancy Travis is wearing these plaid tartan pants. I want a pair. I've been looking online. I can't find them. If you know a place, tell us. This is just for me.
Right, so Trish is shopping through the podcast now.
I am. This is the only time. I was like, I'm just going to ask this one time. I don't know where I've been looking.
So help her out. Go find her. Please let her know.
Please. But if you noticed any other phobias we have missed that are probably in this movie.
Massively phobic movie.
Yes, we preying on a lot of your fears here.
I don't know, fear of
including
public
one
bathrooms?
I didn't know I had.
There we go.
I wasn't until I watched this movie that I realized that I do have a phobia. Right? So
there you go.
Or that specific phobia. I'm sure I have others, but...
Hey, I'm sure I would get claustrophobic in a coffin underground, too.
Oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't have that fear until I was in there.
Yeah. Mine's not irrational. I'm not afraid that I'm not afraid that it's going to happen to me, but I would be terrified if it did happen to me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the point, right?
And then I would be very terrified if I survived it afterwards. Then I might have the phobia.
Yes.
Once you've been through it, I think I'll have the phobia.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sleeping outside probably for the rest of my life.
Oh, that leads to a whole other kind of phobias.
Underground is outside.
It's under the outside.
It's under the outside.
It's not outside.
She is technically correct. It is under the outside.
That's a great name for a band.
Under the outside?
Under the outside.
Yeah. Too bad none of us are musically talented.
No. So if you want to use our band name, let us know.
They could do the theme music to our movie Major Bishop. Theme music by Under the Outside.
Under the Outside. Awesome. I love it.
Oh my.
You know, and we do have a fear of
t-shirt ideas. Write them down, and then we might have some t-shirt ideas there.
God, I didn't have my pen.
And you know, we do have a fear of abandonment as well here. So if you could do us a favor, drop us a 5-star rating and a short review over on iTunes. That would be awesome, and we'll feel a lot better about ourselves.
Yes, please. And our UK listeners, please. Yeah, we are starting to see some reviews popping up, but none from you folks.
Yes, these things are these stupid ratings are also region locked, so we need every region to speak up, so you can build the audience in your home areas.
Yeah,
because we are a global phenomenon of hundreds of people.
And FYI, if you're thinking like maybe there's like a British version of this where you can encompass like the whole CCTV thing, that's part of the UK. That would be really interesting as an aspect to add to this whole thing.
Yeah, but that would only be helpful if the cops actually were interested in investigating, which
It's
they aren't
true.
in these movies.
No, in either way, at least not at the beginning, and then they've lost interest by the 3 years that passed. It's kind of a cold case for them.
Do you know what terrifies me the most out of both movies? Where somebody says, "Oh, did you guys have a fight?" Somebody's been gone for hours. Why the fuck do you give a shit if they had a fight? She's literally not in a place that is transitional.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have a vehicle. Are you saying she just walked down the highway for about 10 hours?
Yeah.
No, dumbass. Like, why is the fact that they had a fight important right now?
Not really the focusing of that. Yeah.
It really does sort of suggest that these cops are particularly inept.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that seems. But that's a line of
lazy.
questioning that you know kind of comes across. Like, it's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's. But I think that is just sort of to reinforce some sort of point in the movie that they don't take her disappearance seriously.
Yeah, and he's kind of alone in it as well.
Yeah, and that he's alone in it, and he continues to be alone in it throughout the entire movie, which I think is that fear of being alone is there's nobody supporting him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but you'll never be alone without Invasion of the Remake, and the only way you won't be alone is to make sure you can find us.
You betcha.
See what I did there?
I
Nice.
love what you did there.
All right.
There's no vanishing with us.
That's right. So you can find us over on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn Radio, Player FM, Blueberry, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Libsyn, of course, and
Frickin' YouTube.
And a whole lot more.
Places we don't even know about.
Those are the ones I just know off the top of my head, which it's pushed out a lot of useful information.
Nice.
Like remembering what spoorloos means.
Spoorloos.
Without
It's a fun word to
trace.
say, isn't it?
It is. Spoorloos.
Spoorloos.
I wanted to mention the passing of Harlan Ellison before we ended this episode. Just this icon in science fiction writing, and I know by the time you hear this, it'll be a couple weeks, but
it's important
for us,
to
it's pretty fresh, and Star Trek and all of his great short stories. I Have No Mouth, But I Must Scream.
Yes.
It's probably one of my favorites.
Absolutely. Yeah, when I remember Harlan Ellison and Robert A. Heinlein, both who are gone now, were easily the two most formative writers on my young mind.
I don't know if Heinlein was near as cantankerous, though.
Heinlein was very cantankerous.
Was he?
Yes.
He was cantankerous.
Oh, yeah.
He was problematic. Heinlein, not the hugest. There was other science fiction writers I kind of like better, but Ellison.
I see, and but he's still probably one of my all-time favorite writers ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very.
So without guys like Harlan Ellison, especially how much he pushed that genre, it might not be a genre.
Exactly.
Like it is now, without his contributions to it in film, television, and story.
It used to be sort of just a pulp type of thing with sci-fi, and it wasn't really kind of like you're saying, a genre, a mainstream genre that's somewhat respected.
Yeah,
right?
I would consider him one of the big four for science fiction, speculative fiction writers. You've got Heinlein, Asimov, Philip K. Dick, and Harlan Ellison.
Philip K. Dick.
Mm-hmm. That would absolutely.
Yeah. I would put those guys in my big four, the ones who were probably the most genre-changing writers of their time, of any time.
Yeah.
It's sometimes there's a previous thing where I think some movie executives like going, okay, I've got these four, and they'll just like hit a dart at a board. We'll do one of his stories.
And Bradbury.
Because they're good.
Oh, and Bradbury, sorry. So that top
make
five.
that the top
Bradbury.
five.
Top five, yeah.
Yeah.
That's enough for a dartboard.
Yeah. Amazing stuff, an amazing career, and sometimes amazing to see how litigious he was.
Yes.
Nice.
I'm like, just if you don't want to read his stories, read about his life.
But read something.
Read something.
Yeah, because it's not throwaway sci-fi. It is highly intelligent.
Nope, he's good.
Just thought-provoking writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if all else fails, find one of his Star Trek episodes and watch that, because those were also intelligent and thought-provoking.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I know that Star Trek's kind of considered throwaway science fiction, but it's not if you pay attention.
No.
There's some wonderful episodes, like some head mashing
the one
episodes.
he's most famous for, and I'm blanking on the title of the episode. That's the one with, I think, was that Liz Taylor? Where they've got this kind of time tunnel and they go back to the 1940s.
Oh, yes, I can't remember the name of the episode either.
Yeah.
Of course, we can't remember the name of it because, well...
And it
pushed other stuff into the brain.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed about it because it was replaced by podcast hosting sites. Because I used to know all the original episode titles, which is pretty nerdy of me. But apparently, I've become a normal person because I can't remember most of them anymore.
We put down reminders for your own birthday because you're going to be pushing out a lot of stuff.
Right.
I've actually forgot my own birthday more than once. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, all right, something to look forward to.
Oh no!
Oh no! The first time I can never remember that was when I was 25. I forgot it.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
Okay, so then this is just a thing.
I can't forget it now because I have friends with the same birthday. So they're like, "Wish me happy birthday." I'm like, "How?" Right?
Then it just becomes a whole thing.
Yeah. I can't even share. I have to share mine.
You do, but not with your brother. Oddly enough,
no,
your twin brother.
I'm a twin brother, but we actually have separate birthdays.
Nice.
I'll leave that mystery to everybody at home who's probably already figured it out.
But, we like it's a little brain teaser for some people. It's fun.
That's right.
All right. One of those BuzzFeed quizzes.
Well, that was The Vanishing. We got 2 more weeks of Face Your Fears month, so I'm not going to spoil what's next, but it's not all. We're going to mix it up. It's going to be a nice array of things, and if you really dig it, please let us know, and we might bring back this whole idea next year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Crap, even if they don't like it, I'm kind of into it. This is fun.
Yeah, I don't care.
We're going to do it again next year anyhow.
I don't care if you like it or don't like it. It's like 31 Days of Horror. We do it for us.
Yeah.
And
we hope you like it.
Yeah, the Academy Award episodes of those never do well, but fuck it. We do it anyway.
Exactly.
Yes, we do. That's a lot of work.
Some of us
It's a lot of work for an episode you don't listen to.
Yeah.
Go listen to them.
It's a lot of work just to really lose at it.
But it's some of the best movies. The only time I receive really good movies in a year.
That's a good point.
All right, well, that was The Vanishing, 88 versus 93, and it's time for us to disappear as well for another week. We'll see you next week. I've been Jason.
I am still here, Sam.
And I continue to be Trish. I will not be kidnapped.
And we are out of here.